It's a few minutes before sunrise and I'm here in a cemetery. I feel like cemeteries are the perfect place to welcome Easter. The earliest Christians often built their churches basically underground, right next to the tombs and burial chambers of their loved ones. They worshiped the Lord right in the very places that they had wept. When you think about it, where better to greet the Lord than where we'll see those bones rise up in the new creation that God is bringing in His Son, Jesus Christ. One of my pastors used to remind me that while we were gathered with the crowds on early chilly Sunday Easter mornings, he said Christians wouldn't bother putting up these markers and names on the graves if they weren't expecting something spectacular to happen here. Well, Mary's "Oh Dark 30" run to that cemetery may be our best example of what it means to embrace the truth that we are not in control. Everything that Mary thought was good and right in her life turned upside down in an instant. She was unexpectedly torn away from the only one who mattered to her. It is the shock and loneliness of death and grief. Today we're feeling anxiety for having so little control over our own destiny and the destiny of those we love. But the truth is, we've never been in control of things like we like to imagine. It's easier to create the illusion of control when we're focused on our busy lives. But now the emperor is realizing the truth about his wardrobe. And it may feel like loss or humiliation, stepping backwards, or scary vulnerability. These are feelings that Mary Magdalene knew too well. Maybe Mary went to the tomb to anoint Jesus' body with spices, but could have just as easily been that she wanted to be near him, near the man one more time who had inspired her and given her hope. She does a lot of running back and forth that morning. Maybe you've felt like acting that way a little bit lately, just uncertain of what we should do. She was shocked and dismayed that Jesus, or in this case Jesus' body, had once again been taken from her. There is something about Mary's struggle that resonates with us today. You might wonder how Easter hope can help us when we feel so powerless to do something. We're unaccustomed to being in the dark, not having all the information, unable to instantly solve the problem, or in many even very tragic situations, to be physically with our loved ones in their time of need. Yet if we listen carefully, we'll discover in this story that it isn't Jesus' closest disciples, the men that he had handpicked to learn his new way of embodying God's law and love, courageously stepping out into the world following the horror of Friday. They are hiding in fear. Rather, it is Mary Magdalene who stands alone by the tomb in her grief, who is too timid or maybe too respectful to go inside. She's the one who first begins to understand what God has done. It's Mary whose honest response of sorrow honors all grief of what death has done to us. It's Mary whose love for Jesus exceeds her fear of death and shines a courageous light on all who risk loving deeply, even in loss. And all those who ever stood at a graveside weeping, who have struggled to carry on like normal after the death of a loved one, or any who have felt isolated or powerless, they're all there with Mary, and yet somehow feel alone. Easter hope helps us right now because loneliness and despair are not how Mary's story ends. As Reverend Philip Martin writes, Easter puts a twist ending on all grief we bear, all the sorrow that we carry with us through this life. While Mary helplessly stands there, the risen Lord himself appears to her. Now, she doesn't piece together some great theological mystery. She simply hears Jesus speak her name, and she knows that he's returned. Mary hears the voice that only one person can have, and she knows that God must have triumphed over death and the grave.